Today I'd like to talk about underinsured motorist coverage and uninsured motorist coverage. These are things that people have on their insurance policies for their automobiles, but sometimes they have no idea what they are or their purpose. Let me explain to you at the outset that I believe these parts of an insurance policy are probably the most important. And the reason being is because these provisions in the policy are insurance on you and anyone in your vehicle when you are injured by another driver in an automobile accident. So I'm going to give you an example. A person came in, and this happens quite often, but recently a person came in and they were injured with pretty catastrophic injuries in an automobile accident where the liability, meaning the fault of the other driver, was very clear. Unfortunately, the other driver had only $25,000 on their liability insurance policy. That is the state minimum. But my clients had been in the hospital for 3 weeks. They suffered multiple injuries, including broken legs, broken ribs, and easily their medical bills and their lost wages and also their pain and suffering exceeded that $25,000 insurance policy limit. Well, most people think that, well, we can just go after the other driver and take everything he's got. Well, unfortunately, most of the time, people don't have the assets to be able to pay for somebody's injuries and medical bills out of their own pocket. So we are essentially stuck with recovering from the other driver only the insurance policy limit. This is why the uninsured and underinsured coverage is important. In the example I gave, it would be an underinsured motorist claim. What the underinsured coverage does, it protects you and anyone in your car if you are injured by somebody who doesn't have enough insurance to cover the extent of the damages you've suffered. Fortunately for my client, he had $100,000 in a policy limit on the underinsured provision of his auto policy. That then gives us the opportunity to recover the amount between the $25,000 that the other driver had and the $100,000 policy limit that my client has on his underinsured coverage. In other words, that insurance, that underinsured coverage that is insurance on him, comes into his benefit because he can now potentially get another $75,000. The way that the uninsured works is that occurs if somebody who runs into you or causes an accident with you has no insurance at all. So then you can follow through with the provision to file under your own insurance carrier for uninsured benefits. Again, that's subject to a policy limit just like the underinsured amount. The question that comes up a lot of times when I go to recover under these provisions of the policy, people always say to me, well, will that make my rates go up? Well, in the example that I gave you, $75,000 is a pretty fair amount of money. I haven't had anybody come to me to tell me that they wish they had never filed an underinsured claim with their carrier because of the amount of money that we're able to recover. One of the things that's important with the underinsured coverage is that you buy as much as you can possibly afford, because there are a lot of people out there with minimum insurance policy limits for liability, and there are many drivers out there who are completely uninsured at all. Let me explain how the underinsured or uninsured coverage works. First, the underinsured. If you're injured in an accident and the other driver's policy limit is minimal, or regardless of the amount of the other driver's liability limit, your damages, your injuries, your medical bills, your lost wages exceed what the other driver's policy limit is. Once that case is resolved for the policy limit, that is when you can take the steps necessary under your own policy to pursue an underinsured claim. In other words, to recover what amount of underinsured coverage you have beyond the other driver's policy limit. Most people have an underinsured policy limit that is the same as their liability policy limit. Maybe it's $50,000, maybe it's $100,000, $250,000. The more underinsured coverage you have, the more you're going to have available to cover you in the event that another driver is underinsured. There are certain steps a person has to take in order to be able to perfect and be able to make that claim on a person's own underinsured policy limit. That comes at the time of the settlement of the underlying claim against the liable party. These underinsured claims are then heard in front of 3 arbitrators, one that is appointed by me as the plaintiff's lawyer, one appointed by the insurance company, and then our 2 arbitrators appoint a neutral party. The way these underinsured claims work is once we prove that the other driver is uninsured, we provide that information to your insurance carrier and we deal with them. If we're able to agree to an amount of what the case is worth, great. If not, we go through the same arbitration process that I just described. I handle these claims on a regular basis and would be happy to talk to you if you're in this situation.